I don't want to put you on the spot, Judge Mancias, but if I want to give you a hypothetical, if you were charged with jaywalking, which attorney at this table would you hire to represent you?
To represent me? Put me in a spot.
I
know, just looking at him, I'm like...
I think his question is, does it have to be someone from this table?
Exactly. And he's like, myself. I'm going to represent myself.
I'll call my son. He keeps me out of jail.
I love that. That's hilarious.
He won't charge as much. Welcome to the Ef'n Sunny Show. Ef'n told me that we had a decline in our female viewership, so we brought the handsomest judge in Hidalgo County to come in and talk to us today.
That's funny.
Got Judge Fernando Mancias here with us today. Yeah, we've got a really pushy new co-host.
Gosh.
Super pushy, Sonny. Super pushy. Super pushy.
You guys.
Which is, the reason why we brought her in is because Victoria moved away.
That's
to
right.
Corpus Christi, and she only comes and visits us every once in a while now, and so we needed someone just as pushy, and so we brought Crystal Garza onto the show to help us out.
Hi, everyone.
Judge, so what do you got going on?
Well, we have some trials coming up this week. We just had a CLE conference at the island, the 5th Region Judicial Conference. Learned a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah. What kind of topics were being covered?
First of all, disqualifications and recusals, some of the new laws that are coming up. For example, one that's very interesting to me is the age to retire mandatorily is 75.
Wow.
So they passed some laws. Now it's going to be 79. As I understand it, that issue is going to be on the ballot for the voters in November.
So 75 is what they're trying to...
75 is the age now.
Is age now. Okay.
They increased it up to 79.
79. Oh, that's...
How do you feel about that?
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. And the reason is because I really believe that, especially nowadays with so many trials coming up and so many cases coming up and interesting cases, experience really makes a big difference. It really does. When I was running this last time around, I would tell the lawyers, I've tried close to 400 jury trials. I know what it is to try a case. I know what it means to be late at the courthouse, to mess up some things. I've been there, done that. And that's how I can help a lot of people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Another thing, I don't know if you guys read a lot of I'm sure you guys do news articles, but it also shows once you retire, the depression rates just skyrocket. So it's good that they're going to extend that. Another thing is the brain is kind of like a bicycle.
Yeah, it is.
You
is.
Keep it running. So I think I'm in favor of that too. I agree with that.
I was surprised that it came up, to be honest with you. I have no idea who idea it was or who sponsored it, but it just came up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Judge, how old are you?
Hey, Sonny.
I know, I'm going for it. How old are you, Judge?
I'm almost 70, going on 40.
The reason why I ask is because I know you still do a lot of running, right?
I do.
Yeah. Do you run marathons?
I don't run full marathons.
Okay.
The most that I do is half marathons. A lot of 5Ks, a lot of 10Ks, and a lot of half marathons.
A lot of half marathons. That's what I saw.
Full marathons were a lot of work. It's like a second full-time job, training for a full marathon. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, so that's awesome.
I recommend for all of us that are lawyers and judges to exercise. It is a great stress reliever.
Yeah.
It's probably the best thing you can do for stress and also for good mental health. Makes all the difference.
No, but I love what you said about the mental health because that's very vital and it's not talked about enough.
It's a big issue for me now because I have a daughter who's a psychologist. She's a counseling psychologist. I've learned so much stuff from her in the last 3 or 4 years. So, like at the courthouse, for example, on the criminal defendants, there are so many defendants with mental health issues. And now I can see that, and I address those issues. In the past, before all the stuff that I learned through my daughter, I would never address those issues. I don't know why. I'm sorry that I didn't address them, but now I do. It's a real important issue. It's like an epidemic.
And that's awesome that you're even admitting to that.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that you've been in a position of power, for lack of better words, and you're still so grounded. That's a rarity nowadays.
Yeah, thank you.
I think it's amazing that it's your daughter who taught you that.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
How many kids do you have, Judge?
4.
You have 4 kids.
3 daughters and 1 son.
So all of your kids, what are their ages? What do they do?
The oldest one, she's 34. She's a federal agent, criminal investigator with HSI. Wow. Then my son is a lawyer. He's in New York City. His twin sister is the counseling psychologist. She was there that night. And the youngest one, she is an underwriter for a firm in Dallas.
I specifically wanted to talk to you about your kids because we're dads. We have kids. His are much younger than mine, but I have 12, 10, and 7.
Yeah.
And I heard something the other day. Raise children to become people that you want to be friends with when they grow up.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know, and I can see that with your kids. And so the question is, what did you do? How did any tidbits you have, you know, for people? How do you raise kids who you want to be friends with? Two, they're going to be incredible people in our community.
Well, let me say this: when I was a judge the first time around, we handled many juvenile cases, and I learned from the juveniles. For example, I had cases where the juvenile, was failing a PE class, and I would ask him, "How can you be failing a PE class?" They would tell me this. They would tell me, "You know, Judge, my parents never asked me about school. They never go to school with me. They don't ask me about my grades, so they don't care. So I don't care." And their parents were not spending time with them. And I learned then I had to spend time with my kids. The first time that I was on the bench, my kids were being born and growing up also. So I made a conscious decision to spend a lot of time with them and get along with them and listen to them and spend a lot of time with them. That's what I did, a lot of time. And we're very good friends. My kids, when they want to go out, they come down here. They ask me. For example, they set up meetings this weekend for dinner and go drink beer and that kind of stuff. And we have great conversations.
That's great.
You got to spend time with your kids, because if you don't, somebody else will, and then somebody else it may not be a very positive influence, and probably won't be a very positive influence. I read a book. It says, "Love is spelled Time." You got to spend a lot of time with your kids, a lot of time. There's no shortcut.
And as lawyers, that's not always easy.
It's hard.
And the fact that they still want to hang out with you.
Oh,
because,
they love being with me.
You can't force a relationship. So I do a lot of family law, and I get a lot of complaints about, the father doesn't want to be in the child's life. You can't force that.
Yeah, you can't force it.
And the fact that you have instilled that in your family, that they're still, till this day, traveling down here to spend time with you, that says a lot about you.
Thank you very much.
Not only as a father, but as a person.
Being a lawyer, you find out that it's common that lawyers come from prestigious backgrounds.
Yeah,
they come
most do.
From rich families. What was your background? Did you come from a well-off family and had to work hard?
I was born in Nisa, Oregon, and it wasn't because my parents had a summer home there. They were migrant farm workers, and Oregon was part of the migrant stream. So I was born there. One of my brothers. And I share the story that I began working in the fields since the age of 10, all through middle school, high school, college, even after the first year in law school, because we were all working. I mean, we were 8 siblings, right? And there's strength in numbers. All of us working together with mom and dad also. We could make a lot of good money in the summertime. And the money would be used to pay bills and get ready for the next migrant season. So, I mean, no money at all. I mean, extremely poor. But, my brother said, the oldest one, I never felt like we were poor. I mean, we had everything. A lot of family, a lot of friends, a lot of cousins. I mean, we never lacked anything at all. We just worked hard.
South Texas has changed a lot from when you started practicing law.
Absolutely.
How was it like being Hispanic and practicing law back then?
Yeah, there was a lot of, not very many Hispanics, just a few of us, but enough to make a difference. And I can tell you that back then we had a lot of meetings. The bar had a lot of meetings, on a regular basis. So we all got to meet each other and talk to each other and know each other. And I like to show the story that most of the lawyers back then got deals done by shaking the hands. They shook your hand. This is a deal. The deal is going to stay that way. It never changed. Maybe one or two didn't follow it, but otherwise everybody else did. And everybody got along real well. And also, what I learned a lot is many people wanted to mentor me, for example, Rafael Flores, and really, really good lawyers, trial lawyers, and just good people. They mentored all of us. And I learned from them that it's really important to also mentor other people. But we got along extremely well. I mean, the number of lawyers was a lot smaller than it is now, right? Probably not even 1,000 back then, not even close to 1,000, maybe 600-700 maybe, right? But everybody got along really, really well. It was amazing.
Wow. Did you guys have any pushback? Because back in that day, there was still a very heavy anti-Hispanic judiciary and firms.
Yeah, there was a lot of pushback because the powerful people were the big firms, and they all happened to be white, or 99% of them, and they had a lot of influence, a lot of power. Whatever they wanted, they got at the courthouse. And that's one of the reasons that people like myself decided to run for judge. Let's change the face of the courthouse and let's share the power. Why not?
No, and I love what you said, strength in numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're stronger together.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
a gentleman's agreement. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a rarity nowadays. And back then it was actually.
It really is. Back then it was the code. I mean, everybody shook their hand. Yeah, this is the deal. Handshake, and that's it. And it's done. It's done.
It amazes it.
You could rely on people's word.
Yes, it amazes me now that they've done away with that.
Yeah.
They've done away with that because that's very
But it's
very important.
But it's really up to all of us to get it back. I tell people the only way to have staying power as a lawyer is you have to be able to build trust in people and have good relationships, solid relationships. I mean, it's all based on trust. And if you do that, you can be a lawyer for a long, long time and be very successful and like it and enjoy being a lawyer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A boss has the title, leader
Yeah.
has the people.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And you're talking a lot about being judge, but I did not like having to go up against you when you were on the other side.
Thank you.
I mean, talk about being an awesome trial lawyer. I mean, I found myself learning things from you while I was actually trying the case against you. And that was just fantastic. I mean, to say that you went to trial against Fernando Mancias is almost like a CLE, like trial session. So
Thank you.
I mean, I still, to this day, the smoothest jury selection I've ever seen. It was fantastic.
I remember when I was prosecuting at the DA's office, and I would have cases against Judge Mancias, and I remember deciding, Judge, that I wanted to run or be a lawyer much like yourself, whereas, hey, everything was very gentlemanlike.
Yeah.
There was no fighting. There was no arguing. It is what it is. The offer is what it is. We either go to trial or we don't.
But I think what's really neat about you, Judge Mancias, is that when you were practicing, you would mentor so many other lawyers if they needed an outline, if they needed help. The minute you found someone else was in trial, you would help them.
I would.
But why would you do that? Because most lawyers are just cutthroat.
Yeah, because I was mentored. I was mentored by really, really good people, really good lawyers, that very successful human beings, and I thought I gotta do the same for other people. It's the right thing to do.
I think.
Yeah, because all of us need help a lot of the time.
Yeah.
For example, at the courthouse, it's pretty much still a man's world, and I work very hard to empower women. I tell them, do what you have to do. Don't be afraid to embarrass a judge. I mean, be an advocate. I tell the story that when a woman says something and becomes aggressive, she's called the B word. That when a guy does it, he's got what it takes, and that's not right. It's not right. You have to do what you have to do, and never be afraid to get the judge upset. Who cares?
It's a very male-dominated profession.
It is.
And I think that females, if you carry yourself with the respect and dignity that comes with the law profession, I don't think it interferes as much. The judges recognize it, opposing counsels recognize it. Now, when you come in demanding, yelling, acting like the B word, and then you blame it on, it's because I'm a female. No.
You have to be ready. You have to be prepared.
You have to be prepared.
Be prepared, be ready, and have to do what you have to do.
And be yourself.
And be yourself. That's really, really important. Don't try to be like somebody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
That never works.
But tell me if you guys agree, with me, but when you have a case set in Judge Mancias' court, you have a sense that that justice is going to be done. You're going to be treated with respect. Do you guys feel that way?
I always feel that way.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And also that leads me to my second question. What does it feel like, Judge Mancias, to be the most recognizable judge in Hidalgo County?
I don't know.
Because I mean, you have been on the bench for a very long time, and it seems like back then everyone watched the news, and there weren't that many district court judges. So whenever you ask someone name a district court judge or a judge, they'll either say the one with the mustache or Judge Mancias.
You're right. I think one reason is before the first time that I was on the bench, I would do between 75 and 100 presentations during the school year, talking to kids, teachers, parents, organizations, just being out there, talk about juvenile cases and what I do at the courthouse. So in doing that, people get to know you. They ask you questions and they learn about you. And I've always been involved in the community in one way or another. I've always been out there. Like I tell people, I'm campaigning 24/7 every single day and doing stuff out there. And it's part of being part of the community. I mean, I'm here because of the community, and I want to be part of the community, and I want to help out as much as I can. That's probably the reason why.
I first met Judge Mancias at a career day when I was in high school.
Judge, what is your most vivid memory from either being a lawyer or a judge? What is the case that you most remember, or a memory that you most remember? It may not be necessarily with the case, maybe the parties, opposing counsel.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, it was a case. I had a case back in the 90s. This man from Progreso, Rubén Ramos, killed his wife and 2 kids. And one of the kids was Julian. My son's name is Julian. So it was a real horrible case because Rubén Ramos sat down the 2 kids that they had and made the kids watch as he killed the mom. And it was all hammer blows. Oh. And then he has a little boy sit down and watch as he kills the daughter, hammer blows, and then kills the little boy. And buries them underneath the bathroom. He digs a hole and buries the whole family under the bathroom. And eventually, the people were missing the family and where are they? Then he said they left to Mexico. And when they dug up the family, they played the video. They dug the family from the hole, and it was horrible, horrible stuff. And he eventually got convicted and got the death penalty and was executed not too long ago. But it was real traumatic for even all the jurors. All the jurors, every single one, the 12 and the 2 alternates, they all had to get a therapy, go through therapy.
Oh my goodness.
Very, very traumatic. Very, very traumatic. Yeah.
Wow.
And my wife back then would tell me that I would wake up at night screaming. I had never knew that until months after the trial. She told me this.
No, I could feel the intensity right now that you're.
No,
I mean,
it
I
was
could touch.
Very intense trial. Super intense trial.
And that's some of the stuff that the community doesn't really know about what judges see, what the prosecutors see, what criminal defense lawyers have to see sometimes.
Yeah, you see a lot of bad stuff.
You see a lot of bad stuff.
The weight you keep on your shoulders.
Oh yeah.
I would tell people that I interned at the DA's office when I was in college, and I was just I ran files up and down. But one of the things that stuck out to me was that there was a wall, and it was all the sex cases, and it was a wall of cases against pedophiles. Oh yeah, a whole wall, not like just one little shelf.
And where was this?
Here in Hidalgo County.
Oh yeah, I believe it, man. I believe it.
In Hidalgo County.
Yeah.
And the public doesn't see that, and they don't see what the judges see on a daily basis. The sentencings that you as a judge have to give out sometimes, and it's not easy.
It's not easy, but you have to do what you have to do.
Right.
Yeah. During the pandemic, when they shut down the courthouse, almost every single day I was signing warrants on child abuse cases, domestic violence cases, and a lot of child sex trafficking cases. It was just incredible, like an epidemic for 2 years during the pandemic. Wow. It just happened a lot, and that's only the stuff that we see, and there's a lot more that goes unreported, and people just don't talk about it. That's a lot of stuff going on.
One thing we all have in common here is we all used to be prosecutors.
Yeah.
Crystal, you're a prosecutor?
Me too, yeah.
Oh, wow.
One says you were a prosecutor in San
Patricio County. Mm-hmm. Wow. Misdemeanors, all DWIs.
You also ran for but you were on the Alamo school board, right?
Yeah, PSG school board. I ran for the school board, yeah. When I ran, it was like an uphill campaign because I had no kids, I was single, and people would tell me, you're crazy. I mean, you have no kids, you have no vested interest in the school district. Why are you running? Because I want to run. So I ran and single and no kids, and I won in the school board.
And what was your first impression? Because that was your first elected office.
Yes.
What was your impression?
Well, I'm from Alamo. I grew up in Alamo, and my family's a real big family in Alamo. So in Alamo, I got 95% of the vote, just because we know so many people. And more people go out and vote in Alamo than in San Juan and Par. So if you win Alamo, which I did, I was in. It was a fairly close race, but enough to pull me over.
What made you want to run and be a public official?
You know, a friend of mine, his name is Juan de Esma, asked me to run because things were happening on the school board that were not right. For example, they spent a lot of time talking about who's going to be the football coach, the director, who's going to play football, which kids are going to play, and which are not going to play. It was a big deal. I mean, that's all I talked about. Not about dropouts, not about grades, not about curriculum, not about helping teachers out. What about the migrant farm workers and that kind of stuff? So he said, we got to do something about that. And I told him, why don't you run? He said, no, you run. So I ran.
I don't think what most people would understand is that the PSJ area. I mean, that they were the far riots. Some happened in
in the 70s.
In the 70s. So this is a time when you're
growing up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, growing up in Alamo. Yeah. I'll never forget those riots. It was a pretty bad deal. I remember the one person that got killed. There was a lot of people out there. There's a lot of unrest. I was run by mostly the white people, and that caused a lot of the unrest, and also some some cops that created a lot of stuff out there.
What do you recall was happening, Judge, that created that unrest?
Well, there was a lot of in the 70s. There was a lot of activists, Mexicano activists, for example. Now former Judge Edgar Ruiz, lawyer Juan Chuy from San Juan, Ramirez, a lot of those guys, they were becoming activists. So they wanted people to get involved in the voting process. And when they did that, there was a lot of resistance from the powers that be involved. That's how it started.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very interesting stuff.
I love your devotion for justice and truth.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's very transparent. It's very...
well, it's really important.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I can see how devoted you are. So
you.
that made you basically give up your private life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, once you run for office, your life is not your life anymore.
Yeah, it's not. You
Yeah,
have no
careful what
rights.
you ask for.
Yeah.
I think one of the coolest things that I saw this last election cycle is that you were out there trying to motivate people to vote.
To vote. Vote. It's
How-
all about voting. It really is.
Do you think that people that live in Hidalgo County kind of take for granted their right to basically vote?
Absolutely, because, we have, let's say 500,000 voters. And on a good year, 50,000 will vote. That's 10%. It's ridiculous. In Mexico, for example, on any given election, you go to Reynosa, for example, the line's a mile long.
Oh, wow.
They want to vote. They care about voting and they want to vote. And we do the opposite here. And it's really important that all of us as individuals, as lawyers, try to get people engaged in voting. Voting is so, so important. When I tell people that, for example, when I impanel juries, people out there are in harm's way in different parts of the world, may get killed, may get hurt. So we can have a jury trial here. And the same for voting and doing things like that. It is so important to do. I just can't understand why people don't vote like they should.
And I was about to ask you, why do
Yeah.
you think the community does not engage here like they do in Mexico?
I think one of the reasons is people feel like my vote doesn't count. That's what many people tell me. No cuenta, it doesn't count. What for? It doesn't make a difference at all. It makes a big difference. For example, I tell this story recently, right, that my brother ran for a judge in Alamo, city judge, and he lost by one vote. So one vote makes a difference.
Oh my
One vote.
goodness. One vote makes
One
a
vote.
difference.
One vote. It is, and I tell people, voting is power. When you have 70% of the voters voting in the Valley, people are going to listen. People in Austin are going to listen. People in DC are going to listen because it's a powerful message. We talked about strength in numbers, and it really is true when it comes to voting, probably even more so.
Crystal wants to ask you a question. She was wondering, the mustache. What is it? A logo? Is it what's because
Is it copyrighted?
yeah, because there are some pictures on the internet with you without the mustache.
Yeah,
but
long time ago.
It's very.
Yeah. Let me share this story with you. When I was trying to get the nomination for the judge through the precinct chairs, and I had a meeting with about 15 of them, and one of the ladies tells me, I want to support you, but the mustache, no mas no. Why do you have it like that? And I tell her, the best man that I've ever known in my entire life, my dad had it like this. My grandfather had it like this. So I do this to honor them. And when I told them that, and she says, I'm yours. You got my vote.
Yeah, no, you
Yeah,
just gave me
wow.
chills right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Efrain loves the mustache. He has a portrait of you in his office. I don't know if you've seen it. Yeah.
I've had it since 1977.
1977.
Wow.
It used to be jet black, by the way.
No, but that's awesome as to why you have it.
Yeah.
No, that's a beautiful sentiment there.
Yeah.
Does it retain when you're running?
Yes. A little bit.
A little bit.
And your mother recently passed.
She did. Mhm.
Judge, I'm sorry.
We're sorry to hear. There were a lot of great things that were said about her. What type of woman was she? Because I mean, it's obvious she played a very significant role, like in your life.
Well, my mom married my dad when she was 15 years old. So she had me when I was 17. I'm one of 8 kids. And she was a real kind person. And I asked her once, why are you so nice, so kind? And she says, the kindest man I ever met in my entire life was my dad's dad, her suegro. He said he was the kindest man I have ever met. And that's all I saw. So she was a very kind woman. And she helped a lot of people. It's incredible. She was like, in our barrio in Alamo, she was like the leader. When somebody got sick, they would go see her, and she would find help somehow. Somehow she would find help for them, and people just liked her. When she passed away, there was so many people inside and out. There was almost like a quarter of a mile people outside waiting to, give them condolences to the family. And the same for my dad.
Do you think some of her community activism rubbed off on you?
On all of us, actually, all 8 of us. We all do a lot of stuff as much as we can.
Everyone's the same? All of you guys?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your parents did a great job.
In terms of helping people out.
The community, yes.
That's all we saw. I mean, my dad helped everybody in Alamo and beyond, and that's all we saw.
More obligation.
Yeah.
That's what my grandma
Yeah,
says,
it is.
yeah.
It's the right thing to do.
What made you want to be a lawyer?
That's a very good question. When I began school at Pan American, I was a pre-med student. And then after about a couple of months, I said, this is not for me. This calculus stuff is beyond me. It doesn't move me, doesn't inspire me. And I had learned about a gentleman named Rafael Flores. And Rafael Flores was an incredible, great guy and a great lawyer. But he also ran for mayor in McAllen, an uphill battle. He lost that race. So I learned a lot about him, and he just inspired me to be a lawyer. And he would always talk about, everybody wants to get these big cases and make a lot of money real quickly. He says, that's not how it's done. You got to try these small cases, auto cases, contracts cases, and get in there. Meet people, get in there, get in the courthouse, try cases, and that's how you
work your way up.
Work your way up.
What piece of advice, Judge, because you've had a very successful career, what piece of advice can you give to younger lawyers that are just starting off or someone considering like going to law school? Yeah.
When I talk to kids about going to law school, I tell them it's got to be something that you want so bad that you can't sleep at night. Because if you're at that point, you want to go to law school and you want to be a lawyer, and you'll do great. If you want to do it because you want to please somebody else, mom or dad or whatever, it's not going to work out in no likelihood. So I tell young people, you have to work hard. I mean, there's no shortcuts. I mean, you're not gonna get $1 million settlement from one day to the next. The odds of that happening are close to zero. So you have to work hard. You have to be willing to read a lot. One of my former supervisors in Corpus Christi told all of us, what you need to do is every single night before you go to sleep, get the rules book, rules of procedure, and just read 1 or 2 rules. And like he says, you can't play the game unless you know the rules.
All right.
And you got to know the rules. I mean, they can make you swim or sink. We've all been there. So just read. I mean, read and engage with other lawyers and learn from other lawyers. And always, try to ask for help from some of the older lawyers. I always encourage that. Ask me questions. If I can help with something, I'll be glad to. If I can't, I'll find somebody that can. And also really, really important to build relationships based on trust with lawyers. It's so, so important. And it's not easy. It takes a while, and it may not happen all the time, but if you do that, you can really, really go a long way in practicing law and also having long staying power. It's a great career, it really is.
I can't agree more with you, Judge, with regard to young people, going to law school.
Yeah.
hey, don't do this just because you don't know what else to do next.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because you're gonna hate it.
You're gonna hate it.
You're gonna hate
I know a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
I really do. They hate it. They hate it.
So yeah, you can't want to do it for money or for the prestige. You have to want to do it to help people.
Yeah, that's I mean, and you get to help a lot of people. You represent people, you represent clients, and you can help a lot of people and make a great impact on a lot of people's lives.
And they rely on you so
Yeah,
heavily.
they do.
And there's nothing like making a client feel satisfied or empowering someone that when they first came into your office was like so demoralized. They had just lost hope and confidence in everything.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the case or upon the case settling, they leave and they're like a totally new, different person.
Sure.
Nothing compares to that type of satisfaction.
I agree with you. When I was practicing law before I got on the bench the second time around, my ex-wife was my office manager. That's how we get along really, really well. And she would always tell the staff, all these people that come here, they're in crisis. There's a big issue in their families and their lives, and you have to listen to them with your heart and listen to them and talk to them and let them say what they need to say, because they're in crisis and they're here because they need some help. And we want to help them and we will help them, but you have to be patient, you have to listen to them and be kind.
I mean, you are one of the coolest lawyers I've ever seen. And when I mean cool, I mean when everything's on fire.
Yeah.
You
100% agree.
You are so cool under pressure. How do you do that? Because I mean, it's never. When I saw you practice, it never seemed like you were nervous to try a case. You were walking into a courtroom like if it was like you were going to the store to pick up a Coke.
Well, you are nervous, but you learn how to control it. But to be honest with you, it's the running.
I was gonna just say that, Judge.
I credit the running. I really do, and I also do some meditation. But it's mostly the running.
I was gonna say you're high on running endorphins when you walk in, so you're like, hey, whatever.
No, running calms you. Any kind of exercise, it really calms you down. And when you run, you think about a lot of issues in the case and work them out through your and resolve them somehow. But it's the running has made all the difference for me. It really has.
That was gonna be my question, and we got sidetracked. But back onto your running, I was gonna ask you, what do you think about when you're running? Do you think of cases?
Because absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. If I'm in trouble, yes. Yeah. I think about what I need to do, what needs to be done, and think about the stories I need to tell and questions I need to ask and a lot of stuff like that. Great stuff to think about.
Yeah.
It really is. It makes a big difference.
See, I try to do workouts that take me away from thinking about my cases. They take me away for a little bit, and then I can come back later. But no, that needs to be done too.
If you could give advice to your younger self, what would you tell yourself?
Don't change anything. Just follow your dream and work hard and just do the right thing.
Love that.
But mostly about, it's really important to have dreams and to work very hard to make them, to realize them. And there's no shortcuts. I mean, you have to work hard, and that's what it takes.
Keep going. Keep
going.
Yep.
Keep on going.
And like you bring up a really good issue, like Crystal. Like it's good to have dreams and stuff. Like, what do you dream about now? I mean, you've done everything.
Actually, I'm gonna run one more time, right? And I would have aged out at 75, and I plan to go back into try cases. I have a few cases to try in my mind, but with the 79 age, I may rethink that one. I don't know. But whatever I do, I plan to try some cases whenever I leave the bench. I like trial work.
You could be making much more money practicing law than being a judge.
No doubt about it.
Why do you?
I like it. I really do. I enjoy it. I really do. The 18 years that I was out sending my kids to school, I was working 7 days a week. 7 days a week, I was getting ready for trial every single weekend, one trial or another. And I thought when this vacancy came up, I said, well, I think 8 to 5 sounds good.
Parents have favorite children. Everyone has favorites. What's your favorite type of case to hear in your courtroom?
I thought you were going to ask me who
I know, me
lawyers
too.
are. Oh, no, I don't want to.
What I'd like to hear, to be honest with you, are the child custody cases. And the juvenile cases and the child custody cases. Because, you're talking about kids' lives, not property, not money, kids' lives. And what you do as a judge in the custody case is going to impact a lot of people, but mostly that kid. And you have to be able to give them time and listen and talk to the kid. I talk to a lot of kids in chambers, a lot of them. And they have hard stories to tell. They really do. They go through a lot. It's hard to imagine somebody's 9, 10, 11, 12 years old going through all these difficult things. I mean, they should be having a great time. They should be having a happy childhood and just being kids. And I tell the parents, I tell them, you guys are fighting over a lot of different stuff, but I want you to know this. I tell them, if the kid sees you guys getting along, not together but getting along, they're going to thrive. If they don't, you're going to see them with a therapist on a regular basis. So it's really up to you to see how you want to handle the situation.
You ever seen those videos of that judge that helps out? I don't know if you guys know the judge, and he's like a famous judge, and he gives out like, I think it's for like parking, but he helps out the people. He brings on the people that are there up to the bench,
Oh, the Rhode Island judge.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't Judge Mancias remind you of him? Like where he helps the community, he gets to like, he inquires more into the situation.
Yeah.
Very fair.
Yes.
Very fair.
Yeah.
Yes, I see you doing that. I've had a few cases where they're involving a child in your court, and I do see that you emphasize on the child, and I think that's most important.
Yeah, it's all about the kids.
Absolutely.
Really.
Emotions will pass.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
absolutely.
the child will never forget what's going on. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Judge Mancias, thank you for joining us. It's been a real pleasure sharing your life story with us.
My pleasure.
And your advice. Thank you so much, and hopefully to have you on that bench a very, very long time.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I agree with that.
Thank you. I'll do my best.
Thank you, Judge.